Hello and welcome back to Wireman's Whimsy. I'm Lorraine, and today we are going to work on this card that combines some Sale-a-bration items with some catalog items as well. It also includes the technique to rough up the edges of your paper. My last video I talked about doing that, and Angela commented that she's new to stamping and would really be interested in learning how this works. So I'll do that in this video as well. Another element to this card is an idea I got from Patty Bennett on Instagram, and it's how to fill in the stamp. So I'll go through the products we're using. This is a Sale-a-bration set called Driving By, and I'm using the van stamp for this one. The greeting is from another Sale-a-bration set called Special Moments, and it's just a little high from me. There are so many really fabulous greetings in here, whether it's just a thinking of you, a sympathy, all of that. It's just an excellent set. It'll stand you in good stead for all your card making needs. And I have used the Meadow Moments embossing folder. I've used the one with the flowers and the butterflies to kind of mimic the flowers on the designer series paper. And to do the Fresh Freesia piece in the background, I've used the Tasteful Textile embossing folder. Sorry, I'm just going to clean up my workstation here. So what we've got going on is at the Patty Bennett technique is how do we decorate our blank images. We can use our blends and color them in, or we can take some designer series paper, and in this case it's the Pansy Petals designer series paper, and we can stamp our image directly on the paper. And what I've done is I've stamped it and I've cut it out, and how I'm going to do this is I've trimmed out the pieces that I'm going to use, and I'm not going to use the window piece. But what I've done when I cut it out is I've left all the black ink edges so that it really defines it and things just don't disappear and blend away. To put these pieces on, I've got my stamped image, and I've stamped it in Memento ink. And I'm just going to put some of the Tombow glue on the back of this. And then I'm going to use my tweezers to place it, just so that I can direct it where it needs to go. And I'm just laying this down and lining it up. The nice thing, the reason I've used the Tombow glue is you can wiggle it around if you need to. If it's not quite in the right place, you can just give it a little bit of a pull and it ends up in the right place. We're going to do the same piece with the van roof, and just a few dots of Tombow along the top, because I don't want it to kind of squirt out and mess up the image. So I'm using my tweezers because I find it easier to put things down exactly with my tweezers. One of the reasons also that I've kept the black ink from the Memento on is if I am a little wiggly, it won't show because the lines are still there. Okay, so what I need to do now is I need to color this in. I've done the windows in Light Pool Party, and so I'm just going to color in the windows just like that. So I had not colored them in to start with, and then I thought it really kind of looks funny without them colored in. So just a few swipes with the Stampin' Blends. The rest of the van I have done in Light Daffodil Delight. The color in the designer series paper is actually Bumblebee, but I don't have the Bumblebee blends. So what we've got is Light Daffodil Delight. My other option was So Saffron, but I thought this had a bit more body to it. And I've also done the center of the hubcaps in the Light Daffodil Delight. And I have picked up the fresh freesia in the white walls of the tire, like that. Just circle it around. And then I've filled in the tires with smoky slate. And I've realized when I cut this out, I missed the wheel well on this one. So I can go and cut that out and add it back in again. I wondered why my piece of extra paper was the way it was. So let's go and do that. You can see here, there's the wheel well that I didn't cut out. So let's see if we can correct this. If not, we'll just leave it as is. So I'm just cutting around the tire. And I'll just trim it off. So it's a little tiny, tiny piece. So we'll need just a little tiny bit of glue on here. And we'll need the tweezers. So let's see if we can correct this. If not, you know what not to do. So I'm just going to pop a bit of glue on, making sure I get glue on the ends as well, so that it sticks all the way down. Okay, and I'm just going to pop this down so it fills in where it needs to be. There we go. Yeah, all corrected. See, you can make mistakes and it still works. So the next thing we need to do with this is we need to cut it out with one of the Stitched So Sweetly dies. And I will do that now. I'll just set my machine back up again. When you switch back and forth between using the 3D embossing folders and then using die cuts, you have to switch out your plates and that. So I've got that lined up. I'm just going to cut it out. And I used the 2021-2023 in color jewels on this card as well. So just to give it a little bit more oomph. There are some little flowers that you can order if you want to, which would go so fabulously with this. I just don't have any of those. So they're, I think they're in the annual catalog. So we've got that cut out. And we can just put that off to the side for now. I've already done the greeting, just a little high from me, and that's cut out with the smallest of the Stitched So Sweetly dies. Okay, and I have already embossed a piece of 5 1/4 by 3 1/4 with the Meadow Moments. So I'll just put that there so you can see it. It's a Pale Papaya card base with a piece of the Pansy Petals Designer Series paper, and I'll just adhere that down. And then we'll get to the roughing up the edge technique. So we'll just do this, and then we can put this down as well. And being that it's 5 1/4, it fits exactly on the piece of Designer Series paper. So we just line it up, checking that we're even, and we are, and we can push that down. Okay, so these are the elements we need. The last piece is a piece of the fresh freesia in 3 1/2 by 2 1/2, and I'm going to run it through the folder, and I have put the folder down, and I don't know where I put it. Here it is. So this is a 3D embossing folder, so what I need is just my base plate, the embossing folder. I'm just going to put the piece of fresh freesia in, again with the Stampin' Up! Symbol up, and then I'll put my thick gray embossing plate in, run it through the machine, and we are good to go. All right, and it makes that thump because it's a hard edge going in, but with the embossing folders, you always want to put the hinged edge in first, and you want to put it straight in because otherwise it can distort or even break your embossing folders. So how did I rough up the edges on this? I took my scissors and I came in from underneath and I just folded up the edge like that. And you just keep roughing it up And when you come from underneath, it kind of folds that edge up for you. And while you're holding it, you also kind of change the shape of the paper. It's not flat anymore, it's kind of wobbly, and that's what we want. I wanted a bit of a raised background behind this. So you've just got your scissors underneath and you're just folding up the edge essentially. So you just place it underneath and just run it along. I'm using my thumb to kind of hold things in place. When you get to the corners, you might need to go back and just give it a bit of an extra push on the corners just to make sure you've roughed up that edge as well. And using the Tasteful Texture folder, or Tasteful Textile, I always want to call it texture, but it's Tasteful Textile folder, makes it really easy to soften those edges up. So then what I did is I just used a little bit of Stampin' Seal. I didn't want to go all the way to the edge because I want those edges to fold up. And then I just popped this on at an angle and dropped it down like that. You can rough up your edges a little bit more, just even with your fingers. Now that it's softened up, you can just kind of push that edge up, make it even more rough looking if you want to, and you can just give it a fold. So there we go. And I'm going to dimensionalize the front of the card. So we've gone through a lot in this video. We've used different embossing folders, we've used different Designer Series paper, we've used Patty Bennett's stamping on Designer Series paper and cutting out. I even made a mistake that you absolutely cannot see when I cut it out, so that's fixed. So there's lots going on in here. We've used the rough edge technique, and I need to put some dimensionals just on the top of here, because I'm going to overlap it, so I don't need dimensionals at the bottom because it's already dimensionalized there. And I played with different ways to add this, like doing it like flat at the bottom or angled at the bottom, but I liked the kind of whimsy, for lack of a better word, of having it at an angle at the top, kind of free and easy and you know, kind of laid back. So I'm going to use my tweezers again just to pick up these jewels and just put 3 of them on the card. I popped one up here. Again, if you've got little flowers or anything like that, you can certainly add those to keep the theme of the floral Designer Series paper. And you can use any Designer Series paper you want that's got a small print on it that will fit nicely within the image. And again, we've used 2 Sale-a-bration items, Special Moments and Driving By. So thank you so much for watching today, and let's create together again soon.